You're a middle leader. You have someone who's just not performing. They're doing everything wrong. They're not following policy. They're taking liberties. In fact, they could be even technically breaking the law. And you're trying to handle the situation. Your team's getting upset, but yet nothing's changing. So you go to your superiors and you tell them, hey, something has to change. And they go, yes, I'll deal with that. I'll deal with it. But guess what? Nothing changes. Does this sound familiar? I'll tell you. So many leaders out there are stuck in the middle in this exact situation. And in fact, today's podcast is inspired by just this situation from one of the members of our free Facebook group, Leadership Skills for Managers to be Leaders, Not Bosses, which if you're not a part of and you want to be, just feel free to go to lead.boss.com/group. So it's actually a pretty lengthy post that this person put in, and I can't say their name because it's an anonymous post, so I have no idea who they are. We allow that in this group because you know what? Sometimes people just need that security, safety, that anonymity to feel like they can open up, which is totally cool, and I understand. That's why I've enabled it. But here is the Cole's notes of this fairly lengthy post. Excuse me. The person talks about a unprofessional employee. So they're a team lead. They have a team of 25, which they lead, and then above them is the owners of the company. And they're constantly tying their hands. The owners are constantly tying the manager's hands, that is. Essentially, as how I read it, is that the owners are the ones who hold the authority to truly deal with the situation, and the manager does not. They're just there to take care of the day-to-day. So a few things that this individual has been doing was basically not following company policy, undermining the individual's authority and credibility and respect, snooping through people's private files and stuff, taking more breaks than they should, being abrasive, being difficult and resistant, and challenging with the changes that are going on, or even tasks, and essentially just not being a team player, to the point where 2 former team members had quit due to not wanting to work with this person anymore. This individual feels exhausted, feels undermined, doesn't feel supported. And the last couple of paragraphs of their post was, I need to add that this team member has disregarded policies after being explained to them in detail on more than one occasion. The member has been abrasive, difficult, resistant, and challenging to coach with new systems or tasks. This person has taken advantage of paid breaks and smoke breaks, even being after it's told it is 1 30-minute break or 2 15-minute breaks, and they continue to go for 5 to 6 10-minute smoke breaks. Sent numerous emails to the owners with everything needed to create a well-documented file, but their meetings with this employee are not clear and being verbal warnings with clear consequences of improvement if improvement does not occur, and no timelines. No written sign warnings. Help. So I went live in this group to talk about this exact situation. So this is what you're about to hear, is that live video, me talking about the 3 different groups of people you need to worry about, and my advice to this person on how they should handle the situation. So, further ado, sit back, relax, and take in all about being stuck in the middle. Welcome one, welcome all to the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast. a weekly podcast series dedicated to helping you hit peak performance across the 3 domains of leadership. Those being leading yourself, leading your team, and leading your organization. This podcast couples my 20 years of military experience as a senior Canadian Army officer with world-class guests to bring you the most complete podcast of leadership going. And for more, feel free to check out our website at movingforwardleadership.com. And with that, let's get to the show. It is Scott McCarthy, your Chief Leadership Officer here, and just going live for a little bit to talk about the anonymous post we got this week that I said I would do a podcast episode about. So I'm going to do live video here, and then I'm actually going to turn this into a podcast episode to get released for the greater masses, because you know what? This person is not alone. And we as leaders need to come together to help as many people as we can. So if you are unaware of the post, it is just below. I'll give you the quick Cole's notes for those who are listening to the podcast, which is going to be developed. You will have gotten much more of it in the intro. But nonetheless, the general situation is this. It's an anonymous post, so I can't say the person's name. They're in middle management. Essentially, it's them as the manager of a team of 25, and then above them are the owners. Okay, so the owners, them as the manager, and then their team. And basically, they have a great team. Great team. Everything seems to be going on great. However, there's one person who is not doing what they should do. Being arrogant, as I read this, essentially disregarding policies, privacies, taking breaks as they want, disregarding, everything, and essentially being the quote-unquote bad apple within the team. Now, this person states that they've been doing what they can to rectify the situation. However, the owners will not fire the person. Essentially, the person who posted this feels this is the only way out of this situation, which, as I read the post, I basically feel the same way. Unfortunately, not all employees are the best employees. Not all can be saved. And as I'll get to, you need to worry about your other team members, right? So this is the situation. Now, what are my thoughts on this? First off, you're not alone, as I just said, right? There are many people out there. And in fact, mastermind member Heather commented on the post stating that, she was in a very similar situation. And I recall Heather talking about this with me and with the other mastermind members during our weekly group calls where we get together and discuss issues just like this one. And she was discussing about a situation very similar. And Heather drops out some bombshell advice there for this person. So be sure to check that out if you haven't. We are going to tie together Heather's advice with the things I have to say. Now, the first thing I want to say is you have to protect your other team members. Right? You have 24 other team members there who basically need to be protected. Now, what do I mean protect them? I don't mean get a shield and stand in front of them and to make sure that this person doesn't, do anything to harm them or anything. What I mean by that is you need to make sure that they feel like their concerns are being heard. Okay? You need to take care of them so that you show them they come first, not this other individual. I talk about often this rule, which I've heard in the past, called the 90-10 rule. And this is a great example of the 90-10 rule, is that 90% of your time get taken up by 10% of your people. And that 10% is basically what we're saying are the negative people. I refer to the 1990 rule, whereas 90% of my time get taken up by my 90% of my people, i.e. the good people. So you want to make sure that they feel like they're being taken care of, that their needs and wants are being heard, their concerns are being heard, okay? You want them, listen to them. They come in to complain and vent about this situation. This is one of those times where you need to allow them to do that, to come in and vent and complain about the situation. You have to leave your door open. Now, conversely, I would actually shut my door for this other individual if they come and they wanted to vent or complain about something. Like, sorry, I have other things to do. You're already taking up enough of my time. It's time to play hardball. It is time to play hardball about this individual, but we'll get to what to do with them in a second. The other thing with the team members is they have to feel that you're doing what you can within the scope of power that you have. By now, if this is going on, as long as it sounds like it's been going on, your team members need to feel like you're doing what you can within your power. So whatever things you can do to rectify the situation, then go after and do it. Understanding, obviously, you do not have the authority to remove this individual from working with you guys. But whatever else you can control, use that and show the team members that this is unacceptable. But at the same time, what you're showing them is that their concerns are being met with what you're able to do. Okay? All right, so this is your team members. We're going to talk about 3 different groups here. We're talking about your team members. Next, we're going to talk about this individual. Heather, the advice Heather basically dropped was this: document everything. Now, it seems like this person has been documenting a bit. She states, or he states, not sure who they are. I've sent numerous emails to the owners, okay? And I believe there's a few other instances in the post where they talk about documenting. But Heather is right. You need to document everything. You need to get into the nitty-gritty details, dates, times, what transpired, any witnesses to it transpiring, as well as getting statements from them. You need to document everything, because if you haven't officially done anything yet, you're starting at ground zero. Now, they talk about policy in this post. So if there is some kind of formal policy about these issues, i.e. initial warnings, formal warnings, etc., etc. So I seen right at the end, they mentioned no written sign warnings. If these things don't happen, you're stuck at the beginning of the process. You need to get that going. So again, whatever you can do within your authority, within your power, do it. All right? But if you haven't done anything thus far formally, then you're at the beginning. So this is why documentation is so crucial, because it allows you to build that file. The next thing with this individual is do not, I say again, do not let up. Still continue to attempt to hold them to account for their misactions. Keep telling them what they're doing is wrong. It's unacceptable. It will not be tolerated in this workplace. They talk about this person takes between 5 and 6 10-minute cigarette breaks. Fine. Remind them they're only entitled to 1:30 or 2 15-minute break while they're on their work, while they're at their shift, I assume. Continue. Go out there. Tell them their break is up. When you see them leaving for a smoke break after they've had 2 or 3, remind them, no, you're not entitled to it anymore. Go back, do your job. Hold them to account. Hold them within the lines, the policies which they signed up for, the terms and conditions which they signed up for to work within this company. All right? You cannot just say to yourself, well, they're not going to listen to me, so I'm not going to bother. This doesn't do anything for your other team members. Again, back to protecting your other team members, right? You have to show them what right looks like, and you also, in this case, need to show them what wrong looks like. And this individual is a prime example of what wrong looks like. So keep holding them, their feet to the fire that you can hold them to. Do what you can. All right. Now, the third group, the owners. And I read this post and I'm just like, I shake my head. I don't quite understand, because from what I read, I'm ready to have this person let go. So I don't understand why the owners haven't let this person go yet. So you have to look at it from their perspective, though. And what's the problem with firing someone? The problem with firing someone is that you have to have due course reason to fire them. So back to this documentation thing again, and following the various steps of the process. Now, I understand from this post what this person has said, that the owners are the ones who hold the trigger for all these things. And they've attempted to lead up, right? They have attempted to lead up and essentially help their owners out. They refer to 4 different occasions with an offboarding plan, address coverage, address termination options. Now, the problem is that you're going right to the end state that you want with nothing in between. So you have to make sure that you show to the owners why this has to be done, right? You can't just go from someone who's being a bad apple and jumping straight to firing them without that documentation, without those steps. Now, obviously this person has done a lot, right? They've done a lot. So again, looking at the owner's perspective, what do they care about? Business owners care about the bottom line. So if you want to get the owner's interest quick, start looking at how much money this individual has cost the company. Okay? Have a look at that. Start tallying that up. From the 2 people that quit because of this person, okay, if you can get statements, if you're still in contact with them, get a statement basically stating that fact to prove that they quit because of this individual. Okay, look at lost productivity due to all these smoke breaks that they've been having. Look at any other costs that they're causing, okay, the company. Maybe not handling clients well, not sure what their job is. Again, the post doesn't get into it, but the moral story is this, is look at it from the owner's perspective and say, hey, this person has cost us X number of dollars. And let me tell you, this will get their attention. I had a similar incident once when I was commanding 200 soldiers. I had a member who, very similar to this. We had a soldier very similar to this individual. Just not productive, not a team player, constantly causing trouble, so on and so forth. Again, I, like you, couldn't fire this person, or from our point of view, have them released. So I have to do up the justification to recommend for them to be removed from the force. And what I did was, I looked at their career, and I mathematically showed that the amount of time they spent in the forces and of that time, the amount of time compared to they're on warnings, formal warnings that we have within our system, compared to the amount of time that they were not on formal warnings within our system. And let me tell you, the amount of times that they're on formal warnings superseded the amount of time they were not. So this was my justification to push up and go and tell Ottawa to say, hey, this person does not deserve to stay within the force. And that recommendation was accepted. So, I left the job. Don't know what happened to the individual after, because it does take time. Big bureaucratic, beast the military is. But this is my advice to you. Okay, again, looking at those 3 different groups, in summary, take care of your people that you have there now. Look after them. Show them that they matter. Keep that person who is causing the trouble, keep their feet to the fire that you can make to hold their feet to the fire. Okay. With the owners, document, push it up, lead upwards, showing them how much of a pain this individual is. And then the final thing I'll say in this talk about this situation is that you do mention one thing in there a couple of times, kind of hint at it, and that is you're willing and ready basically to quit. That's how I read it. And this is my point of view on that. If you get to that point, if you're truly done with this situation, you're truly tired of the lack of execution on the owner's part for this, and you've literally done everything that you can do. Now, you mentioned you don't want to be the captain jumping off the sinking ship, so let's keep this in mind. This is my advice. If you're done, you're ready to deploy, you are literally going to walk in and drop your 2-week notice. Walk in, give your owners one last chance, and say, basically, it's me or this individual. I've had enough. This is it. And I guarantee you, a bunch of the team will be right behind me. I wouldn't necessarily go talk to your team about it, but you know your team, no doubt. So tell them. And then if they say, oh, we'll hold their feet to the fire and put your letter down, keep your word. And that, hopefully, will get something moving. But if not, at least then, you've made your decision. You've done what you can do. Now, are you the captain jumping out of the sinking ship? One could look at it that way. But you can also look at it this way, is that it was your final attempt to lead your team and better the situation by attempting to get the owners to realize change was needed. And if change wasn't going to come, then you could no longer sit back and produce for them. You could no longer do it. You're not quitting the team, but rather you're making a last-ditch effort to convince the people with the authority to do something. So, there you go. That is my thoughts on this whole situation. Again, you're not alone. You're in good company. It's a tough spot, the middle. I'm there. I've been there. And I will tell you, is the most difficult place to lead from. But my last bit to you is that I believe you are doing a great job. From what I read here, what I see, the things. Okay? Few bits of advice there for you. Excuse me. Battling a little bit of a cold here. Anyway, a few bits of advice for you. If you want to talk about this more, I cannot recommend the Leader Growth Mastermind to you or anyone who's watching, listening to this. This is exactly the type of conversations we have every week. But instead of through the podcast or instead of through Facebook, posts. We do it face to face. So if you want to learn more and sign up, just sign up. Go to leaddon'tboss.com/mastermind, and you can sign up right there and join us. No risk, 30-day money-back guarantee, not for you, not a big deal. Here you go. But I tell you, come on a call, and your life will change, just like Heather's. And Heather just literally commented, sign up, exclamation point. It is so worth it. Triple exclamation point. Thank you, Heather. You're a rock star. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again. Lead, don't boss. Take care, and we'll see you later. And that's a wrap for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the Peak Performance Leadership Podcast. But you know what you could do to truly support the podcast? And no, that's not leaving a rating and review. It's simply helping a friend. And that is helping a friend by sharing this episode with them if you think this would resonate with them and help them elevate their performance level, whether that's within themselves, their teams, or their organization. So do that. Help me, help a friend. Win-win all around, and hey, you look like a great friend at the same time. So just hit that little share button on your app, and then feel free to fire this episode to anyone that you feel would benefit from it. Finally, there's always more. There's always more lessons around being the highest performing leader that you can possibly be, whether that's for yourself, your team, or your organization. So why don't you subscribe? Subscribe to the show via movingforwardleadership.com/subscribe. And until next time, lead, don't boss, and thanks for coming out. Take care now.